How are you? Too much? I understand. Just sitting here on the side of the road and knocking out some reports for my deputies that just for the approval process. And I'm out here, trying to make everybody safe. And these friggin' residents are asking me if I'm okay. I'm not used to that coming from a big city. In reference to law enforcement, I highly encourage it. It's a very rewarding career. You're not going to buy a mansion in Miami by any means if you're doing everything correct in law enforcement, but you do have a peace of mind. You get to be able to help people. You get to be able to help solve people's problems. It's not everything that we get to see on cops, but what we get to do out there wearing as many hats as we do is very rewarding, I believe.
That's a good way to put it. Now, there are some, even in law enforcement, who would tell you, no, the job is dead. Look, you've been in it 20 years. Elaborate on how you've been able to stay positive this whole time.
I believe that we are in control of our own mindset, no matter what we see, what we experience. And we have the ability, even though we see the worst of the worst. And I believe that our first impression on scene, when they see the badge, they see the uniform, they have crisis going on, is we set the stage for success, meaning how they're going to treat us, we're going to treat them if we come in with a smile. I mean, if you come in there with that smile, no matter what they're going through, it's going to kind of lighten that load. And I'll give you an example of that if I can.
Yes,
in
please.
2003, I was issued the Axon Taser, which was just Taser back in the day. And even now, all the way up till now, I have never deployed probes into anybody. And I've been to several priority one calls, several instances, if you will, either at our agency or assisting other agencies to where it would have been quote unquote justified to deploy a taser on somebody. But I decided to use the brain, the mouth, and the heart and de-escalate that situation to where, yes, I've gone hands-on hundreds of times with people, but I know what's going to happen. And I believe, just for my personal preference, that you don't always have to just hop to that less lethal force. If we step back for a moment and just speak to people, that speaks volumes. And that's just me. I mean, there's a lot of people that would argue with that, but that's just Banning's opinion on it.
When you do go to these high stress calls, what keeps you focused so you do not lose that ability to communicate?
For me, it's I do. I mean, and it sounds redundant. Everybody uses the word tactical, and I think the word's been blown out of proportion for the past 20 years. But people will be able to resonate or relate to it when you say tactical breathing. So when dispatch or a bystander or however the peace officer, being me, receives that call, and I know I'm getting ready to go to a high stress situation, I start the tactical breathing or the box breathing to help control my emotions and my everything, to my bodily functions, to small motor skills. I believe in doing that tactical breathing. And once you do that, it brings you back down to that zen, that calm. And I believe when you bring that to the scene as well, that they see that you're calm and you're not real high strung, it diffuses a lot of situations.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up box breathing because it's hard to stay in that mindset. It really is, especially when
It
someone's
is.
getting on your nerves or they're fighting, and you got to maintain your breath because without breathing, you can't optimize your oxygen levels. And when your brain doesn't get enough oxygen, it doesn't really function that well. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Glad you brought that up. Banning, I feel like I could talk to you for hours, man. I feel like I've been watching you on LinkedIn so much. I feel like I know you, but for the sake of time, outside of the job, you still do a lot working with law enforcement. Obviously, you're working in law enforcement, but you do have a new project going on because you care about law enforcement officers a lot. Can you kind of dive into what that's all about and how you're being there as a support?
Sure. So and there's many different names from it, from vlog to video cast to podcast with video. I'm basically going to be creating a studio that's very comfortable. It'll be a living room type environment. And we want to fly in emergency responders, not just from this country, but from around the world. There's first responders, on different parts of this globe that go through the same stressors that we do. But unfortunately, they don't have any type of platform to be able to put that out based on their country's agendas or whatever. And I'm not going to get political with it, but I believe that those men and women should also be able to speak about tragic events that they've gone through while on duty. And I mean police, fire, EMS, dispatch alike. Here in this great state of Texas, our dispatchers are finally honored as first responders,
Good.
as they should be across this country. And a lot of people know that I married into the field, that my wife was a dispatch supervisor at a large agency. I met her when she was at one of my previous agencies, and she's one of the huge catalysts for me. I get to come home, debrief with her, speak to her openly about priority one type calls. And that truly helps with a debriefing for my mental mindset to help my mental tools out on the street. But the the show that I'm bringing out will basically invite wounded police officers from around the country and around the world. I want to make sure that they don't have to pay to come to Jacksboro, where I currently work and live, stay with us for a day to 2 days, and basically put their whole story out there for the world to hear, from what made them want to become a police officer to begin with, all the way up to what happened that fateful day or evening when they got hurt or injured. And you know as well as I do, a lot of these injuries can be of the mind. And that what's great about that is it proves that we're human, and we're not true superheroes out here. Yes, we took an oath and this and that, but we all bleed the same color. Some say it's blue, something, but you know what? We're just human. We all bleed red. We all bleed together. We all hurt, and a part of that is to bring the mental side of this up to the table, like a lot of us are trying to do. And it's that stigma, and we don't get enough out to the general public on truly what we go through as peace officers or first responders, and what we deal with. Just one call can stick with us for years and years and years and create the PTS events. I don't put a D on it. I'm not sure what your thoughts are on that, but I've taken the D away when I talk about it, just because I believe when you take that D away, it's a lot easier for that first responder to heal from this in due time. So that's basically in a nutshell what we're going to be doing. Piece of pure Americana and get it fixed up. And why are we doing that? Well, I want to put video or cameras all within that vehicle. And, for my Patreon viewers, they're going to get to see that conversation from the airport all the way up to the studio, get to see that we're humans, and we talk football, we talk politics, we put our pants on the same way everybody else does. And that's, I believe, is going to be a big eye opener on this video cast, to show that we're just humans, and we're out here, and we're just Americans out here trying to make a difference.